Hello and welcome to Tokuku Gamers match preview of West Ham United against Newcastle United at the London Stadium. The Hammers jumped up to 14th at the time of recording. Anyway, take on Newcastle. We're very much in with a shout of top four. Gonzo, can you kick us off with your thoughts on Newcastle, please?
Yeah, I think they've done obviously tremendously well and are coming hot off the heels of a 2-0 victory against Man United, where they did look good. I mean, I know it was at home and everything, and maybe people would say that I think some players missing. Casemiro was obviously important for Man U, but notwithstanding that, I thought Newcastle played really, really well. Posed a genuine threat, and even players like Murphy and players you wouldn't expect to be doing so well are. So it's not all about money with Newcastle. I feel that Eddie Howe, don't get me wrong, they've got money to spend. No problem about it. Anytime you can go and spend £70 million on a striker, that's pretty cool. But I think he would have been doing some decent things anyway. The same sort of stuff about being able to buy Bruno or Isak or then maybe not. But I still think he would have done things like brought Young in. I still think he would have got the best out of Almiron. So I think they've got a good manager. I think he's doing it gradually as well. They're doing really, really well, mate.
Yeah, I think Eddie Howe's still their best signing to date, really, after the takeover and whatever. And I can't believe how well he's done, in all honesty. I was a bit suspicious about their appointment after Bournemouth and whatever, and I just thought, maybe will he do it, kind of thing. He's been absolutely brilliant. Like you said, he's got the old players playing really, really well, likes of Almiron, Sean Longstaff, Joe Willock's gone in there, who was a good player, but he's made him better, he's improved them. And that is good coaching. That's just what a good manager does. A good manager makes players better, but he seems to be doing it with every single one. And for all the money they've spent, and they have spent a lot of money, they're all good signings as well. They haven't really wasted any just yet. Usually when you have like a blank checkbook, so to speak, it's very easy to get some signings wrong. Look at Chelsea. Just have a look at what they're doing at Stamford Bridge. That's how easy it is to go out and spend willy-nilly, bring in all this talent, and then try and work out what you're going to do with it later. Whereas Newcastle appear to be doing it the reverse, which is let's identify talent, work out what we're going to do with them, and then go and get them and then put them in the way we planned, kind of thing. They've got a strategy off the pitch. They've got a strategy on the pitch, and it's working considerably well for them. They're playing really good football as well. It's not like the results are going one way, but the football's not that great. It's annoyingly, it's really good football. Do you think they'll get the top four?
It's so tight. It's so tight. I think it comes down to their match against Tottenham. But that is assuming Tottenham do something. If we'd have been doing this preview on Tuesday morning, Geo will have seen what Tottenham looked like post Conte, and I think we'd have a little bit more of an idea about it. I can't imagine Liverpool are coming back. Really, it's. I mean, Liverpool got some great players. I really do. I think Darwin Núñez is excellent, but I still think they're sort of lacking a midfield, which funny enough, Newcastle don't, do they? So it's going to be tight. I've got a feeling it's going to be between them and Tottenham. I don't think Brighton or Brentford. I think Brighton have got a couple of games on Brentford, to be fair, but I can't see them doing it. I think it's a shootout between them and Tottenham, really. At the moment, I would say yes, Newcastle would do it, but I haven't seen what Tottenham. They've got some harder games. I think Newcastle also play Arsenal as well. It's just really what the run-ins are like there, Geo. And if it's as much of it is to do with Newcastle as is if the Tottenham management team can get Son and Kane firing again. But at the moment, if I had to place a pound on it, it would be Newcastle.
I take it you're assuming Man United are the other team in the top four.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Man United will do it. They've been pretty consistent all this season. I don't know much about the injury to Casemiro. I know he's pretty key to things there. And Eriksen is not there anymore. So I think that's been part of them doing well. I don't know if they're both out for the rest of the season. I don't know anything about it. Then I would suspect that might be slightly difficult for them. But I'm assuming Man U will get top four. And at the moment, Newcastle are in third, and their goal difference is good. That's the other thing. Let's look at that. Their goal difference is significantly better than both Man United and Tottenham as well, which is worth a point, as we know when it comes to shake-up. I mean, they're really close. I think it's going to be close, but I think they probably will do it.
Yeah, I think they will. I've thought this for quite a while, though. I just think there's stability at Newcastle. When you listen to Eddie Howe, you see the way they play, his team selections, there's consistency. You can see what they're trying to do. Whereas Tottenham are just shambles at the minute. And yes, they've got rid of Conte, but I guess you could argue that Tottenham have been this much of a circus, yet they're still in with a very realistic chance of finishing the top four. So as bad as it's been, they're still going to get Champions League football. Whereas it's been bad for Liverpool and Chelsea, and they look like they're going to miss out on the top four. But I think Newcastle will do. I think defensively they're very, very solid. They've got a bit about them going forward as well. Isak's now the player that they thought they were buying, kind of thing. He's now up and running, kind of thing. Anthony Gordon's been there a little while now. Can they start to get a tune out of him? St. Maximum's back. Still not convinced he suits Eddie Howe's way of playing. I still think they need somebody to replace him long term, but he's having an impact on games. He's playing well at the minute, and while I don't think he 100% suits the way they play. He's doing fine. I think Newcastle will do it. Do you now look at the Premier League? I mean, previously it's always been touted as the top six via the mainstream media. Do you now look at it as the top seven with Newcastle?
No, the truth of the matter is I don't look at it. At that top end, I just haven't this season. I haven't spent.
Well, I didn't mean it like as in physically look at the league table. I mean, like, do you know how it's called the top six? You know who they're referring to, but do you now see it as the top seven now?
I think for me to look at that, I need to see them have a season where they have 2 games a week, basically, where they've, because that can be tough. That's I think it's even sometimes tough for those big teams, really. I think if they then go and spend now, so if they go and add another 200 million's worth of players, which they may do if they get into the Champions League, then they can justify certainly doing that. Then I think maybe, but at the moment, it's not just we don't know if the squad can do it. We don't know if Eddie Howe can do it, and I do think he's been brilliant. We don't know how he's going to fare in Europe, that sort of thing. And you just don't know these teams. You've only got to look at Chelsea. Look at Chelsea at the moment. Things can go wrong. Look at Liverpool at the moment. Quite possibly. But it also, by the same token, Gio, it would not surprise me at all if Newcastle got top 4. They got into the Champions League next season. Their league form dipped off a little bit. And then maybe someone like Aston Villa next season finished above Newcastle in the league. Or, Aston Villa finished whatever 5th and Newcastle finished 6th or something. I think that is also possible as well. So I don't know. I think you've got to do it for a couple of seasons before you can say that, we've cracked the top 6 or it's now become a top 7, because I think there are other clubs who've probably got their eyes on it as well.
I think they have. I think the difference, like you said, there will be seasons. Of course, there will be seasons where Newcastle or a other team will drop out and they'll finish 9th or something like that. That's happened in the past and it'll happen again. And teams like West Ham, Aston Villa, Leicester will nip in there and they'll finish in the top 6, 7 for a season or two, and then they'll tail off again. But the difference is, I think, the infrastructure and the foundations of those clubs. Whereas with us, we're up there. And unfortunately, it's a case of enjoy it while it lasts, because inevitably we're going to drop down the league again because the club just isn't well enough run in order to sustain that period of success, if you like. Whereas with Newcastle, with the money they've got, the money they're able to spend, I think it's hard not to look at them as a club that's going to be in the top 8 for a long period to come. And they'll probably have a couple of seasons where they dip out of it, kind of thing. But if I was certainly a Newcastle fan, I'd be hoping to get top 4 this season, but certainly looking at challenging in the top 7, 6, 7 for the next 2 or 3 seasons as a minimum, as long as the funding continues and the strategy continues and the player identification is as good as it has been. Then, I mean, they're doing this well at the minute with, like you said, Dan Burn playing left back. Yeah. Could you imagine how good it'd be with an actual left back? To be fair, he's probably been one of the better left backs in the league this season, but he's still playing out of position. Sure. There is the risk, of course. You have to look at West Ham here, whereas if you go a little bit too far, which is a little bit too, spend a bit too much money bringing too many players, it can go wrong pretty quickly. But I just don't get that vibe with Newcastle at the minute. I just think they're up there to stay, kind of thing. And when it comes to sort of relegation next season, they're not even a consideration for me. They're gone. It's like top 6 in them. It's there's almost like 7 places in the Premier League sewing up now for the long term, really. And it's the other 13 I've got to battle for the scraps that remain, kind of thing. Anyway, last question on Newcastle before we talk about West Ham. There's your Meyer, please.
Well, I really like. I mean, you said St. Maximin. I think he's brilliant. I just love watching him play. I really do. I think he's an amazing player. Look, he can run fast. I've never seen anyone stop so quickly. I've never seen anyone, I don't think, run at full pelt and then stop. He's got some brakes on him, that fella. I tell you, he's really good. Really like him. I like the centre back. Is it Botman? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
His name. I think that's his name. He's really good, and I think the fullback there has been brilliant. When they signed Young from, they signed him from Athletic. Did they sign him from Atletico Madrid, Gio? Sorry, not Young, Trippier.
Yes, I know who you meant, but yes.
I think they signed him from Atletico Madrid. I think he's been really good because he's given real leadership, and I don't know why more clubs. This is another good thing, that little feather in his cap here, that they've he goes and identifies a leader. I think that's really important to go and find somebody like that who can lead the group, who can be vocal, who's got the experience. I think it was a hell of a wise move, and also he's a very good player, excellent set piece delivery. And you know, I always liked Helmer on as well. I think he's a really good player. But you know, hey, look, a lot of those guys are already at the club. You know.
Yeah, I completely agree about Kieran Trippier. Fantastic signing, and like you said, when they went in there in the relegation battle, it was exactly what they needed. He was out for a little while as well, but he's still off the pitch. Would have had an influence this season. Still churning out performance after performance after performance. I think his delivery from set pieces is second to none. Newcastle really utilised him well, and I think he benefits from Dan Burn playing left back, though. It just allows him to push forward that little bit more, because he knows the left back ain't getting. Dan Burn does gallop forward now and again, but it just allows them to be a bit more right-sided heavy, and it also allows Almiron to get inside more often, knowing that Trippier can come down the right-hand side and use that space. So it works really, really well. Alexander Isak, somebody I've liked for a long time, and I was jealous. You know, so sometimes when clubs sign players you're a fan of, and you get a little bit jealous. I was like that when Isak went to Newcastle, and I thought, I would have done anything to see him at West Ham. And a bit of a slow start to him. You know, it took a little bit of a while because of injuries and whatnot, but he's now up and running. And every time I watch him in that black and white shirt, he just impresses me. He's just a class. Oh, he's a class striker. I thought he ran Man United ragged yesterday as well. Top striker. He'll do really, really well for them. If they can get a little bit more creativity into him, he'll score goals. And then Bruno, we'll have to mention him. One of the best players in the Premier League this season, I think. I think the biggest compliment you can give to a player is when you don't play, the team suffers. Simple as that. It doesn't matter who they put in, your team gets worse. Sure. Newcastle are that. We played Newcastle when they're up in St. James's when they didn't have him, and we gave Newcastle a hell of a game, that one. But I do think a large part of it because Bruno wasn't playing. When he plays, he just makes them tick. Everything goes through him. He's just absolutely superb. So composed, doesn't falter to deceive. Honestly, he's just a magic player. I can see why Newcastle fans absolutely love him. What a talented player he is. Anyway, we've done enough praising Newcastle. Should we move on to West Ham?
Yeah, absolutely. That's enough.
A couple of doubts for West Ham ahead of Wednesday's game. The first one obviously being Gianluca Scamacca. He missed the game against Southampton. He's got a knee injury. We don't really know how serious it is, but it was enough to rule him out for the game on Sunday afternoon. And the second one is Kurt Zuma, who went down injured at the end of the game. Could just be a Zuma thing. Zuma's always injured, but it could be something more to it. So we'll have to wait for David Moyes' press conference on updates on those two players. But fingers crossed, both are available. Now, Gonzo, this should be interesting because I think this is where we blow that. One of the biggest football myths, in my opinion, is never change a winning team. Absolute rubbish. I hate that. I hate it. I'm changing it. I know you're going to do a couple of changes as well. So let's talk about the team that you fancy seeing starting against Newcastle. Fabianski in goal?
No, I'd still put Areola in there.
Would you?
Yeah, I would for the simple reason we counter-attack far more quickly when Areola's in that. We really do. We basically, when Areola's in goal, we attack more. And I'm not sure there's enough between them as goalkeepers to warrant doing anything else. So yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah, okay. I would stick with Fabianski. I thought he was excellent against Southampton. But I flip-flop on all the previews for the goalkeeper because of the way we see them perform. Now, talk me through your back four.
Actually, sorry, before we do, if you notice this during the game, there was a point where the crowd, the game against Southampton, what I'm talking about here, where the crowd was screaming at Fabianski, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. And he didn't. And it took ages. And in the end, it took him a long time. And basically, all the fans behind the goal went, oh, like this. And he was basically saying sorry. There was nothing on, which there always is. So there's actually a frustration building between the fans behind the goal and his distribution. I don't know if you saw that at all. That was really interesting. Sorry, right back Soufal. Agreed. Why? Well, because Thilo Kehra's an accident waiting to happen, and whoever Newcastle deploy against down that left wing is going to cause absolute nightmares for anyone. And I think Thilo Kehra is the least equipped to deal with it, really. Ordinarily, I'd probably even be saying, under normal circumstances, to put Ben Johnson in there, but I'm still not sure there'll still be a hangover from the Brighton game, quite possibly, with him. So I'd actually play Soufal there. But Kehra did well against Southampton, but Southampton is very, very different to Newcastle.
Yeah, I completely agree, actually. I think, like you said, Kehra played well against Southampton. Kehra was untested against Southampton. Southampton did not have a left winger on the pitch to start with. It was a very easy game for him to look good in, and he did look good in it. There may be other games this season where we prefer a Kehra right back. For this one, I completely agree, and that's Soufal. I think we're asking for trouble if we play Kehra right back, especially if Newcastle stick with St. Maximin out in that left wing. If they do change it, they do a little bit of rotation, because starting on Wednesday, Newcastle have got 3 away games in 6 days or something, so it's going to be quite tough for them. They are going to have to rotate. So, but if they do, they'll be bringing in Yolenton or Anthony Gordon on the left wings. It's still two decent, maybe not as damaging as St. Maximin, but still two really impactful players that they can call upon. So for that reason, it would be Soufal for me. So almost safety first a little bit on this one. I've got a feeling he's going to play Kehra though, and it worries. I'm already worried about watching Kehra play right back against Newcastle. I think the rest of the back four picks itself though.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure Zuma will be fine. A good back off the back of man of the match. Well, our man of the match against Southampton at least, and Emerson continues to get settled in at left back and is in a good run of form for us. Well, not many players have had consistent form over the last 6-7 games for West Ham, but Emerson has. I think even when we've lost, Emerson's played well. And
into midfield.
Midfield, I am going to go with on this one. It's a tough one. Okay, well, Rice and Paqueta are in, obviously. Yeah. Both played really well. I'm just unsure whether to put Flynn Downs in there and shore it up a little bit, which I probably will do. The other one I would have gone for is Lanzini. But I'll probably go with Flynn Downs on this one, because he's going to give David Moyes what he wants from Souček anyway. Plus, we're going to have much better ball retention. And I would imagine, we've already discussed it, haven't we? Which will be obviously be in tomorrow's video. We've already discussed the number of passes that Souček did. Again, this time against Southampton, which 11 out of 21 passes or something like that. Before last game, he played 9 passes in the game, didn't he? Stuff like that. I have a suspicion that Flynn Downs would complete that many passes in 20 minutes. So I think I'd probably play Flynn Downs in there. Paqueta and Rice just can't be dropped, can they? They were really good.
Fornals for me, Rice, Paqueta and Fornals. I think Fornals looked good against Larnaca, and I'm aware it was Larnaca. Larnaca were crap, but he does something. So was Southampton, and Souček still didn't look good in that game. But Fornals looked good against Larnaca, playing in a bit of a number 10 role, but obviously this one would be a bit deeper in that 3, because we know the formation Newcastle's going to play. There's no surprises here. We know they're going to play 4-3-3, and you've got to match them up in the middle of the park. So for Fornals and Paqueta, Fornals' creativity can be very useful, and then it depends on what you do ahead of Fornals, obviously, but we'll get onto that in a second. But because of what I'd like to see ahead of Fornals, I think Fornals' sort of long ball distribution, if you like, could be utilised quite well in this game. And we know he'll put a shift in. We know he'll work hard. He'll do the tackling stuff as well. It's just that in possession, we need more composure in there. We need to start getting more out of Paqueta. And Paqueta is somewhat shackled to some extent. I think Fornals in there might just help free him up. If you want to go forward, Fornals can sit. If you want to play passing, Fornals can do a bit of that as well. I think Pablo deserves a shot, actually. So he'd be in the midfield for me. So that leaves us both with 3 players each. Talk me through your 3. This should be interesting.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely add Jared Bowen in there. It's a shame. I don't know why Cornet didn't feature at all against Southampton. It would have been advantageous for Moyes to, even if he gave him 10-15 minutes, would have been 10-15 minutes more of sharpness, because he's going to use him. If he had used him, I would actually, my front 3 in this game would have been a Bowen, Cornet, and Benrahma would be my front 3, just to really, get us on the front foot for the counter attack. Really, he didn't do that, so I'd probably start with. So I still want to start Cornet actually for pace. I do think we're a little bit slow. Maybe how undecided I am. What I do know is Danny Ings can't play in this system. And even I probably wouldn't play 2 up top against Newcastle. It has to be said. So, which is something I said that I'd like to do against Southampton. Okay, let me make a decision here. Front 3 of Bowen on the right, Antonio on the left, and Antonio in the middle and Cornet on the left.
See, I would like, funny enough, same 3 players as you, but slightly different. I would like Bowen on the left for this one, and it is with a defensive outlook, and it's because of Kieran Trippier. Whoever plays on the left has to get back and defend. They have to. They cannot allow Trippier to come galloping forward and start delivering those crosses from the right-hand side. Benrahma is weak at it. I remember playing Newcastle away, and on the ball, Benrahma being good, but off the ball, he wasn't great. He kept losing Kieran Trippier. So for that reason, I think I'd have Bowen out there, who we know would track back and put the shift in and just try and keep Trippier as quiet as much as possible. But while that's a disadvantage, it does propose the advantage, which will get someone on the right-hand side who can attack Dan Burns, get someone out there that can go one-on-one with him, and just make it difficult for him as much as you can. He's a good player, he's a good defender, but he doesn't mind committing fouls. He is a centre-back playing left-back at the end of the day, and I would probably play Antonio out on the right-hand side and say, there you go, there's your chance. You want a chance, you've got it, and I would put Cornet through the middle. And if Cornet was on the right and Antonio was in the middle, I'm not too bothered about it. But I would like to see that front 3 as well, actually. So bar our centre midfield, we've got a match in 11, Gonzo. It doesn't happen too often. Is a point enough for this game? Obviously, Southampton was a must-win. We've got the win. Is Newcastle a bit of a must-not-lose fixture for us, or do you think the pressure remains on?
I mean, we go back to the start of the video, and you said, do you think that Newcastle can turn the top 6 into a top 7? David Moyes already has enough teams that he sits back against and takes a draw. Six was too many. There's been times when Liverpool have been weak, Chelsea have been weak, when Man United have been weak at times, and when we should have gone for it and we haven't, because historically, they're seen as a top 6 team. The last thing we need David Moyes doing here is now having another team that he craps himself against and puts 10 men behind the ball. So I guess the point would look good, because this will look like our game in hand, won't it? Because not everybody is playing midweek. Some are. So this will look, it's not our game in hand. It's Man City. It doesn't really matter. You've got to play everyone.
Well, we've got 2 games on hand to some teams. So it's kind of isn't. Yeah.
So yes, so mathematically, a point could be good here. Or decent enough. But I certainly wouldn't advise David Moyes playing for a point on this one, because if we sit back and invite them on us, let's be honest, like we did against Southampton. In fact, we actually even did it against Larnaca in the first leg. Larnaca in the first leg, we sat back and invited them on us. How many calls do they have? Loads, like
14
or something. Wasn't it? I mean, if he's capable, honestly, I'm telling you now, he'd do it against a dog and duck. So you've got to watch out for these boys. They got that fella on the left wing might have had 10 pints, but he's dangerous, and he'd sit back. And if he can do it against them, he can do it against anyone. I would not think it would be a clever thing to do to play for a draw in this particular game. The only thing we can hope for, Geo, because David Moyes will do exactly that. The only thing we can hope for, I think, here is that Newcastle might be a little bit more tired. They've got to do the travel. We haven't had to travel. They're doing the travelling down. But let's be fair, it's something they'll do all the time. They probably, I mean, look, they're Newcastle United. They're not going to be taking the not going to be taking a train down, are they? They've probably got a spaceship or something like that to get. They're probably teleporting them down or something. They're so rich, so they won't even be fatigued. They've probably all got their own individual masseuses and chefs. Probably got. When they carry the emperor around on those things. They're probably sitting back, eating grapes and all the rest of it. So they won't be tired, mate.
Well, speaking of £10, I think you're going to need some of that to get you through this game. I think if we can get a point, I think that'll be good. I think that will keep us on. I was hoping for 7, and I feel quite almost optimistic saying 7. Southampton, Newcastle, Fulham, 7 points would be really good. And I stand by that. So to get a point against Newcastle, we can still achieve that. And then the Fulham one, a draw wouldn't be the worst result. It'd be okay at best, but a win would be like, whoa, hello, maybe we can survive kind of thing. But Newcastle just terrify me, in all honesty, and I think David Moyes terrifies me as well. So a combination of the two. I mean, you can guess one way to say, but also, what's your answer? Are you confident?
No. I was really pleased and relieved with the performance, with the result against Southampton, but the performance was concerning. Particularly the half-time thing. Particularly the half-time thing, because we came out and defended after, we got our tails up, we got a goal, we went in 1-0. We, towards the end of that first half against Southampton, we'd started to attack, went in, and whatever was said, like the old Valium tea came out, and David Moyes was saying, calm it down, let's get back there and defend, guys. Come on, don't get ideas above your station. We've scored our monthly goal. Let's get back. And that worries me. So it's hard to be confident having seen how we played. Mate, I'll tell you what, I'd be buzzing. I'd be buzzing if we won. Back-to-back wins. Seems a long time. Back-to-back wins, empty stadiums, everyone coughing and sneezing. Lovely.
I would love a win as well, but I'm not confident whatsoever. I can't believe I'm saying this, but my optimism for getting something against Newcastle has actually gone down. It's actually decreased after watching us win. That should not be possible. That should not be a thing. But it's my honest opinion. After full-time whistle went against Southampton, I thought, bloody hell, I'm not looking forward to this Newcastle one. Then I watched Newcastle blow Man United out.
Yeah.
And it should have been 4-5. Newcastle should have had 4 or 5 against Man U. 2-0 was generous.
Was it their second goal? I think Bruno put a crossover, so Maximum headed it back across.
That was the first one.
What was a goal, wasn't it? That was a goal.
The second one was Kieran Trippier's free kick and Wilson.
Callum Wilson, you're right. The first goal, you watched them playing that football before.
Yeah, but they should have had a couple before that as well. Isak had a free header from 6 yards saved, and Willock somehow booted it off to him. Newcastle were all over him. And I was watching that game thinking, we're just going to get torn apart. We're just going to get torn apart on Wednesday. I thought I could see us playing the way Man U were, but worse. And I was sat there and just watching the game through my fingers, thinking I'm not enjoying this whatsoever. I'm really not looking forward to this game. I think Newcastle are a good team, and we are bloody piss poor at the minute. You could tell that was a bottom 2 teams on Sunday, and you could tell that was a team trying to get in the Champions League later on when Newcastle played as well. Can I get any final words from yourself, Gonzo, on your all-important score prediction, please?
Yeah, well, look, David Moyes on shaky ground. No, he's been on shaky ground for a long time, but finally, there's some people who have to match the criteria that the board have in terms of replacing David Moyes. Some people that are available and have Premier League experience, so they may well be looking at him. He can't really afford to lose this. If we lose this, and then we get to the weekend and drop down to the into the bottom 3, then it just may well be curtains for him. I think he'll play for a draw. And I think we'll get a loss as a result. I think, but I don't think it'll be a massively heavy loss. I think we might lose 1-0 or 2-0.
Do you know the worst thing? I think he might take a 1-0 defeat because it will protect our goal difference.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the man has no concept that he's in the entertainment business, and by that I don't mean he's got to send out a team in. With pom-poms and all the rest of it and dancing and all, but he does have a duty to try and get that stadium full, to try and encourage people to get invested in a team and enjoy it. But I almost said that. I'm glad you said it. because I was thinking it that maybe, just maybe, he would look for that 1-0 loss and think that is not bad. And you know what? Whilst that might keep us up, whilst that may be good for him and something he wants to do, that's why the stadium is nervous. That's why the fans are sick of that. That's why whatever 5,000 of neutrals that started watching West Ham have probably stopped watching West Ham despite the cheap tickets.
I was going to say, it was nerves on Sunday. I don't think there'll be any nerves on Wednesday. I think there'll just be dread. I think it'll just be people just not looking forward to it. We all know people that just don't enjoy going anymore, don't enjoy watching it, partly because of the team, partly because of the stadium. You know, they, like I said, we've spoken before, they erected a bloody wall to stop the atmosphere between the home fans and the away fans. They don't even want atmosphere in the ground. And then a couple of weeks ago, they're sending stewards around telling everyone to sit down again. You know, it's bonkers. We're in a relegation battle, and the stadium are doing as much as possible to stop the fans, and then the team are doing as much as possible to stop the fans, and the manager's doing as much as possible to stop the fans as well. It's almost like they don't want any backing whatsoever. I'm Gonzo, honestly, I'm dreading Wednesday. I really am. If Newcastle turn up and we play like we did on Sunday and they want 3 or 4 goals, they'll get 3 or 4 goals. The substitutes that they did on Sunday against Man United, they were bringing on Callum Wilson, Anthony Gordon, and Yolinton. I thought, bloody hell, I can almost see what's going to happen on Wednesday night already. They're going to be 1-0, 2-0 up, and they're going to be doing similar subs to go get 4 or 5, and we're going to be sitting there panicking. I'm going to say 2-0. What did you say? I'm going to say 2-0 Newcastle. Did you
I said 1. I didn't commit. I said 1-0 or 2-0. I think it's going to be a loss. Yeah, definitely no.
Yeah. Anyway, apologies for the negative preview, but all we can promise is you get our honest opinions. That's our honest opinions. But if you somehow enjoyed it, please do drop a like on it. Subscribe to Hammers Chat. Leave your thoughts ahead of the game in the comments below. Myself and Gonzo. We'll catch you in a bit.